Howdy everyone, we finally got there. It is finally time. I know I've been saying this for a while. Finally got back on track. So episode 2 of the DoriPod. We have today Jamie.
How you doing?
So, let's get into it. How are you, mate?
I'm buggered.
Buggered?
Yeah, it's the start of the year was a bit interesting. So I took January off to try and get car projects done, and maybe I got some done. I can't really tell.
The Supra made it to halfway, so...
Yes, that was a mission. Big thank you to Sebastian, good mate of mine, who rewired the... So when I built the Supra, I just cut the entire body harness and engine harness out of a Lexus GS300 and then just shoved it under the dash and then twisted some wires together to make it run for...
NA2J?
Yeah, NA2J, just VVTi. I was trying to get it to 2021 halfway hangs. No, 2022 halfway hangs.
Yep.
But everyone pulled out at the last minute, and then the forecast was rain, and thank goodness I didn't go because the car leaks like a sieve, and some other blokes from Ipswich got stuck on a bridge or something for...
Oh, I did see that, like right at the highway there.
Yeah.
Near Ballina, like where the bypass is. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been me camped out. And
yeah.
Thank God I didn't go. I think I would have been fired from my job if I got stuck for such a dumb reason. But anyway, so Sebastian went through and just rewired everything to make it safe and put fuses in and relays where they should be and made the car awesome. Unfortunately, there's still a bit of a gremlin with it. So once we got to halfway, or on the way to halfway hangs, it just wouldn't start. We actually had to push it out of my driveway, which is a mission because it's going to mini spill.
To be fair, you are on a hill though.
Yeah. Well, see. So my driveway goes up, and then there's like a bit of slab to the left of the gate.
Yeah.
So the bins are there. So we had the car backed in against the bins, and then we go to start it, and it's dead. So we had to like push it uphill, and there was a car in front that also had to get out, but couldn't because it's just Tetris. And anyway, so we're mini spooling and pushing and fully loaded, and it was terrible. But we got there in the end, and the car was awesome.
No, it's awesome.
That niggling issue. So.
What ended up being like just a relay or a starter motor itself?
I'm not sure. So since I got back from halfway hangs, so January was trying to get car projects done.
Yeah,
got a few done, and then February I went on a holiday with my partner because she's like, I got to get in before this other dumb stuff you do gets in. So So we went on a holiday, and then I got back from that 2 days of work, and then I went to halfway hangs for whatever it was.
3 days?
Thursday
4 days.
To Sunday, yeah.
Because you left a day before me.
Yeah,
because I watched you guys drive past. So
that's
it's like,
right,
bye.
Well, it was very helpful encouragement. I didn't think we were going to make it, but it was good that someone did. But then we got back and 2 more days of work, and then I went straight to Fraser Island with some mates. So we were there for 5 days, I think, and I got back the start of last week. So this week's my first full week, and I'm dying already. Being in the office is hard work after 2 months off.
What is it, Tuesday?
Yeah, exactly.
Tuesday, so... No, that's funny. But like with the Supra, like what ended up being the...
We're not sure. So I got back from all these trips and it's just been parked. So
just haven't had a chance to look at it?
No, I hit up Sebastian again because I'm just at a point. I'm colourblind. I'm tall. I don't have time for this garbage. I don't want to... I can get it going, and that's the extent of my knowledge. So I just take it to him, and he's a good mate, so it works out well. And I hit him up, and my old man's got a couple of cars in there with him at the moment, just getting some stuff looked at. So he's like, yeah, eventually. I was like, I'm in no rush. The cars, well, after halfway hangs, that was the only thing I had planned for it until I get a huge sum of money to throw at it. So it's just going to sit in the corner and hopefully
the naughty corner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
Over there with the 31 and my other Supra and bits and bobs.
The collection is growing.
Yeah, oh man, the collection's ridiculous.
No, I got the same. I got a similar sort of issue. So the A80 is 6 at the moment. I was having starting issues with that, and I wasn't exactly sure what it was. But I've managed to narrow it down to the starter motor. Oh. So you know how a starter motor solenoid doesn't like when it goes click just once, and then like you bang on it, it's fine, right?
Yep.
This wasn't doing that, so it was not making any noises whatsoever, and it is a direct feed power cable, so there's no relay or anything like that in the way. I've got a mate to help me out, but now I carry a hammer in the car, and I need someone to hold on the key, and I can just tap it once, and it works all of a sudden.
So to my knowledge, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but my background, I went to university and studied engineering. I got 100% of my practice and assignments and failed all my exams. So I was like,
classic.
I'm really good with my hands, it seems.
Yeah.
So then I went to Victoria and studied motorsport. And while I was down there, we covered all the theory of cars, enough to qualify you for an apprenticeship, or rather to finish your apprenticeship, but none of the practical. You do practical, but it doesn't get reflected on your scores or whatever.
Yep.
So that was obviously a common problem that cars have, and they covered that at TAFE, and they said that the issue was, and I'm probably wrong because it's been over a decade now, but the windings in the starter, there's like a broken winding, and so when the starter stops and the bushes are on that broken winding, it doesn't complete the circuit, doesn't get it turning, so the hammer just jolts it and it's all off and racing. So
yeah, that's exactly
don't you have
what I think.
Don't you have some hookups at like a part shop or something you can...
Fun fact, I don't actually work at Repco anymore.
Oh, what happened? Do we want to release that on the podcast?
Long story short, social media.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. They were
TikTok in my uniform at work.
Really?
Yeah.
And they're like, this is not good for the brand.
Yep.
Wow.
They were like, this could be brand damaging. You've breached the contract. See you later.
What contract? The one that no one reads that you write in there, you're our slave and goodbye forever?
Correct, yes.
Gosh, what a bunch of prudes.
But I did just get a contract for Autobahn today. So,
I love it.
I moved on to the greener side of things, I guess you could say.
That's the one. Well, hey, you know what? Now that you've had two, was it Whitey's and then Fury Garage, mate? It's only up from here, right? You're going to take over the world of podcasting, I reckon.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but
we'll get there.
It'd be nice. Here's the thing. Like the end goal, and I've said this before on Facebook, is like I want to be able to like get to all the big names. Like the Noriaro is like the end goal.
Yeah.
And he did reach out like almost immediately and said, "I'll do it right now." And I'm just like, no.
Let me have some practice.
Yeah. Let me talk to all the local guys first. Let me get the stories from where I'm from and just like grow that sort of thing. Yeah. Because like that's next level. Like he's living all of our dreams.
Yeah, isn't he? What?
So
well, except for the bit where his car burns down, then someone mocks him. That's kind of.
Yeah. Well, we don't talk about that other person. No, he's a bit of a flog, that guy.
But hey, speaking of locals, I don't think you can get more local than how close we are to each other.
No, well, that was what was so weird. Like, I'm just selling an A86 and you roll by one day and you're just like, what the fuck?
WRX that isn't mine. I'm like, dude, did you sell that? I want to buy it. I didn't have any money at the time, but during my goddamn life.
Oh, I sold that for stupid cash. Like, that was $8K.
What?
Yeah.
Far out.
And it was, like, rusty and everything. Like the dude who bought it, fair cop, he's actually, like, pulled it apart and, like, cut a bunch of the rust out of it. And he's, like, doing a heap of work to it.
Nice.
But, like, it did have 4.8 Hilux diff with disc conversion, VS, rear end, like, brakes and everything like that.
Yeah.
With like the full equal length 4-link suspension and everything like that. So there was a lot of worth in it if you wanted to spend that kind of coin on it, but it was going to take like 15, 20k a coin to get it even close to looking like a street car again, just because of the amount of rust in it.
Yeah.
Like it was so bad that one of the windows, like it was sitting in the shed, one of the windows like actually fell out of the glue and didn't fall down and smash. Like it just fell out of the glue and was sitting there, and I just picked it up one day and I was just like, that's
expensive.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Gosh, yeah. Well, it sounds like I dodged a bullet there, but
But
no, it's a funny way to meet because this is a small neighbourhood, despite it being Ipswich, and
North Ipswich seems to be real
tight knit.
Yeah.
So there's people that it's funny. Like I'll be in the driveway wrenching on something, and someone will drive past my house, and they'll be just snapping necks to look down the driveway because whenever we've got the gate open, it usually means something's happening, and people are just looking at all times, just looking. And I'll be rolling around town and someone will, or like I'll go into a workshop and be like, oh yeah, I want to get a wheel alignment on my 31 or something. Like, oh, you're the guy with the blue window tint. I'm like, I don't even know you. How do you know who I am? And then, I see your car everywhere. And it's just such a strange community that no one actually speaks to each other, but everybody knows each other. Because this is the first real conversation you and I have even sat down and had. Yeah.
Usually I'm flat out doing other things and being a dickhead.
It's life, right?
Yeah, I just constantly going, but
I'm working 2 jobs trying to build 3 businesses, and then I've got a mountain of cars to try and deal with, and a missus and a dog and a house here and a car there, and it's just it drives you nuts.
No, I know the feeling. Trying to get this thing off the ground has been interesting to say the least, especially with the budget and the work and the jobs. And I
find that the more you put into it, the more you enjoy it, the more you're willing to spend on it anyway. And
that's it.
As long as you keep a day job, I think that's the biggest. Like for the last, I don't want to say 10 years, but it was about 10 years. In my 20s, all I did was play with cars.
Yeah.
And for a lot of it, I was lucky enough to not have to work like everyone else does.
Yeah.
And as a result, I was able to run around and play with some serious car stuff. And I never built 1,000 horsepower 32 GTRs or anything. I just spent all of my time blowing up R31s and learning the hard way. But I came out the other side with what I feel is a very usable set of skills, especially for people that are trying to start building cars.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, like you said with the 86, that's a cheap enough project that someone who's coming out of school could buy. It's a dream car, it's a cheap one, it needs a bit of work. This is ticking all the boxes for a high schooler, but then they get stuck into that project and they're like, I don't know how to weld.
Very easy to get overwhelmed with something like that.
You get halfway through it and it's like, I'm running out of money, and it drives you crazy, and then you end up taking it to a shop and they rip you off and don't do any work, and it's just snowballs from there. So I feel like I'm lucky in the sense that I was able to learn how to build stuff as cheaply as possible, but still get a decent result. Like that Mark III Super, for example.
Yeah.
That was a middle of COVID build.
Yeah.
And I think all said and done, driving on the street was $6,000.
Damn, that's pretty good.
And whilst it's a VVTi 2J NA, at the time, a long block GTE was $8,000, no accessories.
Yeah, they went absolutely wild for a minute there.
Blew my mind.
Like back in the day, you used to be able to pick up like a 1J for like $1,000.
Yeah, it was nothing, right?
Yeah.
But I had to buy an entire GS300 that had been hit by a bus and bananaed, and then literally cut it to pieces in the front yard with a sawzall because it didn't roll and I couldn't move it, and then just like pick parts out of it and like sell a headlight here and a whatever there, and just trying to recoup any money I could. I sold half of the exhaust because the guy was like, I just want the bit that bolts onto mine. I was like, none of it bolts on, so he just cut it off at the diff. And I was like, there you go.
Yeah.
$200, I don't know, like just trying to recoup money any way I could to try and keep the cost down.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the end, I like it. It sounds awesome, drives, I mean, as well as it can for a piece of garbage I slapped together with second-hand parts that I found on the Facebooks. But no, it's a good car. So I like doing those kinds of builds, those cheap and cheerful, I guess.
Yeah. They're just the fun ones. But this brings back to another story that you've sort of told me about before, but I want to know more about, because like you said, North Ipswich, small community, you've obviously been here a while, and you said you were known as the R31 guy, and people would leave you some that were not particularly great.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. So I guess it was like 2000 and anywhere from 15 to 17-ish.
Yeah. So
whatever that is, 16, I guess, 2015, 16. And I have so our fleet of R31s has narrowed down to like 4. Prior to that, we had upwards of 20 at one point.
Damn.
It was ridiculous. And whilst none of them were any good, because it's just, like back then, they were 31s, man. They all had blown out shocks and no bushes, and you lift the rocker cover off and it's fossilized again. Like it's just, it's insane the condition these cars were still running in.
And this is what blows my brain, is like when you think about the numbers of it, like in 1 year, Australia sold 100,000 R31s.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like
there was heaps of them.
That's twice as many Supras were ever made, period.
Yeah.
And they sold them in 1 year.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. And they're like, whilst they're ugly and sure they don't have any features or anything like that, they're a well-constructed... Yeah, look. They're a well-constructed car. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And I love my 31. It's a piece of junk and it's rusting through and I really need to deal with it, but it's a cool car in my eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the 31 story. So my dad has a lot of siblings, and he and one of his brothers bought his mother, so my grandmother, a Series 3, I think it's a Silhouette, no, it's an executive sedan, white, and this thing is immaculate, brand new off the showroom floor in 1989, I think.
Yep.
And she drove that car until the day she died, and it is still the cleanest R31 I've ever seen. You get in this thing, and I promise you, it is like a factory vehicle right off the showroom floor. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Inside and out, you could eat off every surface. It's amazing. Runs like a top. The engine bay is immaculate. I just can't express to you enough just how clean this car is. And it's got 250,000 Ks on it. Damn. It's just ridiculous how well she kept this car.
Yeah.
So that was the car that we used to go to church on a Sunday in.
Yeah.
We went up and saw my grandma because she's very religious and all that sort of stuff. And so then one of her sons, my uncle, he drove around in an R31 wagon when he was an electrician. So he's bombing around Brisbane in this 31 wagon, and he'd break down all the time with the crank angle sensor overheating, and there'd be like roadside recovery come to save him, and he's like, no, just give me 20 minutes, it'll be fine. And then they're like, no, we're calling you a tow truck. He's like, I'll be gone by the time it gets here. And sure enough, off it goes.
Yep.
Reliably, it would break down all the time. But anyway, so he decided to sell it because it's an old Bomb 31. He didn't care.
Yep.
So his brother, my Uncle Mark, bought it, and my Uncle Mark saw the value in them because he was one of the ones that helped my dad buy that 31 for his mother.
Yep.
So he got this 31 wagon, he was cruising around it forever, and now he's a big rev head. So back when he was a kid, he was modifying push bikes and selling them, and then he got into cars at 15, so he's building HGs and HQs, and he had this awesome HQ Statesman that he tells us stories about all the time, and he still has a HQ Statesman that I was lucky enough to help rebuild over the 2012 to 17 range.
Yep.
So that's a matching numbers, HQ, 350 Chev, all the thing makes, I don't know, 400 something, it's great. But But yeah, so he got a hold of that, and he was running around it as a work car as well. So he's a screen printer, so he would do a lot of like signage installs and stuff. So he'd just throw everything in the back, because sometimes taking a van into an undercover car park at an apartment building to do a sign doesn't work. So you take the old Bomb 31, right?
It also looks kind of sus sometimes.
Exactly, yeah. Ladder on the roof, it's all good. So he was having a great time in that, and it just got to the point where he just didn't have a need for it anymore. And I was about, gosh, that would have been 2012. Yeah, so I just finished TAFE down in Victoria. I was just about to finish TAFE, doing the motorsport course, and I bought it off him for next to nothing. It was actually the most expensive car I've ever purchased. It was $2,500 at the time, which was a lot back then. But I knew the car inside and out was immaculate. And the very first thing it did was leak all the coolant out of the water pump that leaked, and then crack the head.
Ah, classic.
Awesome.
Thanks, RB.
Yeah, I know, right? So that was great fun. But no, that car ended up just sparking it for me. And so whilst I was driving that, I had the opportunity to buy a manual 31 wagon.
Yeah, yep.
So the story went that this 95-year-old dude was driving it onto the highway, and it just went bang and stopped. And a guy that I became friends with because of buying this car, he saw the guy, or knew the guy or something like that, and helped him. And it turns out the clutch had worn away so much that the rivets in the clutch had grabbed the pressure plate in the flywheel and somehow destroyed the pressure plate. And so it spat the clutch and the pressure plate out through the bell housing.
Damn.
So it destroyed the bell housing, destroyed the exhaust, put a dent in the floor, and just scattered the entire... I couldn't believe it. It was completely blown out. But it was a running 31, except for that obvious failure.
Yep.
For $900, I think, or $800 or something. So I took every cent I had at the time. Literally, I borrowed off a girl I was dating at the time. I was like, can I just borrow this money? And then I'll pay you back and dump you. Anyway, so I borrowed all the money I could. There was a car trailer at the TAFE car park, so our accommodation was near TAFE. And we would drive past this car park every day. And there's this massive car trailer there. And it didn't have any locks on it. And we're like, because we're all motorsport boys. So like, maybe someone's not going to notice. So anyway, I went in there one afternoon because it was there for 6 months. And just a mate had a Maverick, a naturally aspirated diesel Maverick, and we hooked it up in...
RD28.
Oh, dude, it was bad. We hooked it up and then drove all the way. It was like... It's a 40-minute drive in a normal car. It took us like an hour and 40 minutes. This
nice.
Maverick was struggling over the Victorian hills. And
it
was just a killer. We get there, and the guy that I became friends with, he was like, I'm late for something. Give me the money. Here's the car. Here's the keys. See you, bye. And just left. And so we had to like roll this car up onto the trailer and then tow it all the way back and then like push it into my garage. It wasn't even my garage. It was like a carport. God, this story's getting out of control. I was living with a 70-year-old bisexual man. It was a very strange time in my life. No. He was a really nice guy who I found his ad in the paper and he's like, yeah, you can live here. I like cars too, it's all good. So ended up parking the car in the driveway there, and then we towed the car trailer back and just dumped it again in the same car park.
Yeah. No
trouble, thankfully. But then I had this 31 that didn't run, and I just hobcobbled this thing together. I found a bell housing in the bed of a ute at some guy's workshop. I was like, hey, is that for a 31? He's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, can I buy it? He's like, have it, man. It's going to the tip. Oh, sweet. And it's just like all these sort of like piecing it together from everywhere. By the time I got the car running and driving, I got one of the Victorian regos for a week or whatever.
Yeah, yep.
Bombed it back to Queensland. The car was great, and the idea was to fix it up or whatever. But I just realised this is a really long story, but I forgot I actually owned a 31 wagon that got me into modifying cars back in 2010.
Yeah, right.
So I had a 31 Series 3 that my dad drove around as a car that he just did odd jobs in.
Yep.
Similar to the other one my uncle had. And that car, I ended up crashing my Suzuki Sierra, as you do on your Ps, and I just ended up driving that car, right?
Yep.
The exhaust rusted through, took it to shop, helped me fix it. I learnt that cars were...
Hey, Brock, another crashed Suzuki Sierra on Ps.
Hey, I've still got mine.
Well, no, he has Vitaras now, but yeah.
See, I didn't stray from the course. So I got 4 now, but I still have mine. But
Jesus.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, out of control. But anyway, so fixed the 31, was driving it, fixed the exhaust, I did a bunch of other mods to it, and then I ended up getting T-boned by a truck.
Yep.
Which nearly killed me, and so that was that. And then I wanted another one, and then that was where the uncle's one came in. And I found this other one called Leslie, the old one with the blown up gearbox, whatever.
Yep.
So you can see it's all starting to come together. And then I moved everything back to Queensland, and I was actually working for Next Up at the time in Salisbury. So I was working there, driving the 31, blew the head gasket, and I thought I blew the head gasket, I actually cracked the head. So then every day I would drive from here to Next Up, and at the halfway mark on the highway there was like a pullover emergency stopping zone, and then a fence that you could jump, and an abandoned firehouse that had a tap on it. So I'd drive to there, pull over, jump the fence with an empty bottle of water, fill it up from the tap, fill the radiator up, and then keep going to Next Up, because I couldn't afford to buy a cylinder.
As you do.
Yeah, and it was my only car, so I had to just keep going. So I drove like that for like 6 months. And
I'm just saying, you probably could have kept the water in the car.
Yes, but that would require planning, which I didn't have much of, So that was fun. But anyway, then I started fixing them. So as you do with 31s, you can see how I'm like collecting more and more and more of these bloody things. And I still had the red one parked in the front yard, completely smashed. Like this thing was, the whole front was caved up, the roof was creased, it was bad.
Yeah.
But like I think I pulled the diff out of it, like all the interior bits. My cousin that you met at Halfway Hangs, Jake.
Yeah.
So he would have been, God, like 6 years old when I crashed that car.
Yeah,
His car has the centre console lid that we had handmade for that car. You know, it's just timber with fabric on it or whatever, but it's not a factory R31 part. It's from that red wagon. So I'm a hoarder as well. But anyway, so it got to the point where I was collecting more 31s to get bits for 31s. Then people were like, oh, you like 31s? Here's another 31. Or do you want to buy this 31? And it would just get out of control. It got to the point where my dad was like, hey, you need to drive to Gympie today in a car trailer. I'm like, why? He goes, oh, there's 2 31s up there for you to buy. I'm like, I don't need any more. He's like, no, take money, go buy them. And so then I came back with a gold wagon, a factory manual wagon, and a sedan that was all rusted out. And so then I've just got this mountain of 31s compiling in our yard. And my cousin who was driving my mum's old 31, which used to be Jake's mum's old 31, it's getting crazy. He was like, I don't need it anymore, so he gives it back to us. And like, then I'm driving around in a TI, and it's like, where did all this happen? And that was when people started driving past and seeing all these cars. And it got to the point where, you know, the black soil wreckers. I don't know if you're around.
No, that's a bit before my time.
So on the highway, there's like a crane storage facility.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah, that used to be a wreckers. It was like old school wreckers. And so my old man used to take me there all the time to get whatever. And the guys there, we would talk to them so much and buy so many cars from them that they would start sending people to us. So someone would come and be like, I need a HR. Like, oh, we don't know. Go see these guys at this street. And dude would just rock up and be like, hey, you got a HR? I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, get out of my house. This isn't a wrecking yard. Go away. That was ridiculous. So, yeah, the similar thing happened with 31s. People just worked out where I lived. And yeah, I very distinctly remember one day I wasn't there, I was living with this dude named Cashew. He was in the front yard working on his patrol or something. And, yeah, someone just pulled up out the front, parked the car, turned it off, and he thought it was me because obviously 31s have a distinct sound.
Yeah.
So he turns around to see if I open the gate, and just a set of keys come flying over the fence. And the car door slams, another car drives off, and he's like, what the fuck? Picks up their Nissan keys, he looks out, there's a 31 wagon, he's like, So I get home, I'm like, hey, who's got the wagon? He's like, I think it's yours, dude. Gave me the keys, I'm like, okay, that's a bit strange, but yeah, people just started dumping them.
Yeah, that's wild.
Sorry, that was a ridiculously long story to get to a very terrible point.
Well, no, there's a lot of interesting points in there.
Dude,
but
I can make any fucking story an interesting point if you really want to drag it out.
Well, it works for me. I was going to say, have you seen that red 31 wagon heading out towards Tivoli? It's on the left as you go down past the Tivoli State School.
It's a sedan.
Yeah.
That's TI as well. Or it's got TI wheels and a bonnet, I guess.
Yeah.
I have seen that one, the Series 3, yeah.
Have you? It's factory exhaust and everything.
Yeah,
it looks real clean.
Old mate's got some Datsuns in there too, I think. Like,
yeah, right.
I've been checking, like, I think, I don't want to dox him or anything, but cuts out if need be, but it was like an ironmonger, I think was his business. It was like a weightlifting deal.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, every time I drive past, I have a geese in, much like people do at my place. And I've seen him been restoring Datsuns over the years, and that 31 started off kind of rough, and I mean, it's still pretty rough, but he got it up and running and it's registered, so
yeah, no,
they're still kicking around, which is great. I mean, even I live in Stafford in the city, and I used to go to World Gym, and I was walking through there one day, and here's someone with a silver Series 1 wagon loaded with gear, like packed with electrician's tools.
Damn.
Ladders on the roof. This thing is just chockers.
And he's just using it.
Steelies, hubcaps, stockers. Unreal.
Yeah, right.
He's just dailing it. And that's 2023.
I mean, they are good work wagons. Like that is the one thing I'll give the 30E credit for, is it was just an absolutely unreal, just reliable motor. Like it just went and went and went.
I totally agree. He said I disagree on one aspect. If you played with them and they weren't well looked after up until that point, they grenaded. Every single one I've ever done any kind of preventative maintenance on. So as an example, my 31 wagon, I went through a bunch of motors, mostly my own stupidity. But I got to the point where I'm like, I just need a good motor. So I put one in and I started driving it and it was leaking out of the cam seal.
As they do.
I can fix that. Easy enough job. Pull the rockers off, pull the cam out, change it, put it back in, done. So I did that, and then I drove up to like Bundaberg. I was staying with a friend up at a property up there, so we went up there, had a great weekend, came back and jumped everything, and then as I'm going the next day to a panel beater's place to work on the Statesman of my uncle's, as I'm driving there, I pull up at a servo, knock, 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 knock. I'm like, God, what's happened here? And from what I can estimate, when I pulled the engine, like when I pulled the rocker cover off to pull the cam timer, the lifters out, the everything was just caked with carbon, like it hadn't been serviced in 50,000 Ks. And it's not dissimilar to any other 31 engine I've ever opened and seen. But this one was bad. And all I can think is that obviously when you undo the bolts, it dislodges a lot of that stuff. And I cleaned it out as best I could. And I changed the oil and all that sort of stuff. But all I can think is that the piece got dislodged and either got sucked up or stuck somewhere it shouldn't and just blocked an oil gallery and started bearing. So I wasn't flogging it, wasn't boosted, nothing. But then the next one I put in, I'm like, I'm not touching a thing. I'll do rocker cover gasket and that is it. And it leaks the same, it had the same amount of carbon in it, and I drove this one like a bat out of hell. I blew 2 NA RB30 boxes in it.
Yeah.
I boosted it. Not enough fuel pump, not enough injector. Still doesn't have enough injector. Does have enough fuel pump now. And I think it's at like 140% duty cycle on the VL turbo injectors at like $3,500.
Yeah, right.
I had the thing sung to like 6.5 or something stupid, well into redline because I was racing a 33 and it was so loud when the gate opened I couldn't hear my car anymore. So then I looked down, I'm like, I'm in second gear at 110 on the highway. I need to like change up a gear and buried in 6. And dude, thing's flawless. Detonates constantly. No problems at all. Strongest engine. I've had it. John was nice enough to let me learn how to dyno tune it next up. So I used to work in America teaching at a summer camp, and we, out of nowhere, right? So I would teach kids how to restore classic American muscle cars at a summer camp in upstate New York. Long Lake Camp Adventures. But I did that.
Well, thankfully, you've had plenty of work on 350 Chevs, which is most of what they work on as well.
Yes, however, not a single 350 Chev has been worked on in America for me. It's quite
really?
ridiculous. Yeah, I've never touched one in America.
Just get those big block 440s, eh?
Yeah, I did have a 440 in the Roadrunner. That was cool.
Yep.
But I bought a Buick not a Buick Roadrunner. I bought a Buick Skylark, and that had a Buick 350, which is like technically the same as a Chevy 350, except it's just different enough that nothing bolts across. It's one of those things. Like you look at it, you're like, that's a 350 Chev, and then it's like, no, the V or whatever is like 2 degrees different. So none of the manifolds fit, none of the pistons work, none of the rods work, none of the it's like, so I went from like I could go to Summit and buy whatever I wanted to fit on this engine to this one intake manifold, and it's already on the car. Sorry, there's no other mods.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, not the point of the story. The point of the story is when I was building cars over there, my boss, his name's Lee, he was like, man, this is great. One of the cars was a BMW that we turboed, and he's like, when you're coming back, I've got access to a dyno. If you can learn how to dyno tune, we can actually tune some of these cars up, because we had the Roadrunner didn't run right. We built a hot rod, so the kids built a 1920s like replica Model T Ford with the big V8 and the shifter and the whatever, looking like a rat fink. And it just the carb, I didn't spec the carb out right. The boss was like, I want to be able to make more power, not less. I'm like, okay, I'll put a bigger carb on it and then jet it down. Stupid decision. I should have put the right one on it to begin with. And he's got enough money, he could buy a second car. But anyway, so I made that poor choice. Which meant it needed to get tuned. And I didn't have the ability and wouldn't all the time the year I did it. So then he's like, all right, when you come back, learn how to tune on a dyno. You've said that you know someone that can teach you, go and learn from them. So I spoke to John, and he's like, yep, happy to teach you because you're my old apprentice. Go and do the HP Academy, High Performance Academy. Do that, and then buy an ECU for your car and come and tune your own car.
Do you think the High Performance Academy is worth it? At $4,000, do you think
$4,000?
That's for the everything. They're adding more and more stuff. That's a lifetime sort of access. But
so from my memory, like we talked about, I failed on my exams at uni. I'm terrible at retaining information, which I shouldn't say that because my job now requires me to do nothing but that. But at the time, I was bad at it. So when I did the course, old mate has a very specific tone of voice that is very lulling. I thankfully found the double speed button and got through it a bit quicker so that he wasn't so monotonous. But the information is valuable. But I don't, at least again when I did it, which was 2018, I think, the information isn't presented in a way that I feel like I could take it and immediately apply it. It's very useful information, and it's all the information that you need, but it's presented in a way that I don't understand where to start or what to do with it. So as a result, I watched the course for however long it was, 2 weeks it took me or something. Took notes and everything, and I had my book ready to go, and then I went to Next Up and sat down in my car, ECU installed, car on the dyno, running, and went, I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't even know where to start. Thankfully, obviously, having someone there, John came over and was like, this is how you do this sort of steady state tuning to begin with, and I fumbled my way through it. And I distinctly remember at the time, I was studying, like I was becoming a mortgage broker, and we're doing an extremely difficult deal at the time, and it's just melting my head in the office. So I spent Monday in the office, brain fried. Tuesday, I went and sat on the dyno for, I don't know, 5 hours or something stupid like that because I'm obviously slow.
Yep.
And it just brain melted. At the end of the day, I was just like, I can't do anything. And then the next day, I went straight back into these hard mortgages, and I was just like, this is not okay. My head can't handle this. It's too much. Like, I love learning, but it gets to the point where it's like, it's just so much information. I need time to process it. I just didn't have it. And to such extremes and to such high levels, it was just killing me. So, anyway, to answer your question, God, I love tangents. To answer your question, yes, I do think it's worth it. However, I think that there needs to be some kind of guidance when you go to apply it.
Yep.
Because like anything, if you've got all the information in the world, it doesn't matter if you don't know where to start.
Yep.
So yeah, I feel like it can be very dangerous in the wrong hands. But thankfully, most people that can afford to buy that don't have a dyno ready to go that they can just blow themselves up on. So it works out. And thankfully, I didn't blow my car up. Got a good tune out of it. John's like, you know what? I only did the fueling. John did the timing and everything.
Yeah.
It was nothing crazy. Like I said, I ran out of injector immediately. So he was like, you know what? You did a half decent job. And I was like, as far as John goes, that is like a high five and a mad compliment. Because I don't know if you've met him, but he is a stern fella.
I have not.
Hard pressed to get anything out of him. So I was very pleased with that result. but yeah, so the idea was to go back to America and tune cars and do whatever I needed to do. And nothing crazy. We were just trying to make them run. Because at the end of the day, it's kids from 8 to 16, boys and girls, and they just want to be able to turn a spanner and then point to their parents and go, look, I built that car.
As you all do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's a hard thing, I feel, that most people don't get the opportunity to do. Like, man, I've got it. So my boss, his son is my nephew. No, cousin. Yeah, second cousin. I think he's my cousin. Anyway, he loves cars.
Yeah.
And they live in a house with no yard, and like his dad drives a Honda Accord. And I was like, dude, pull the K motor out. We'll put it in RX-8. It'll be sick. And he's like, I don't have anywhere to do it. I don't have any money or space. And it's like, breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You know, he's a clever kid. It'd just be great to see him take on the mantle and push with this stuff like my cousin Jake has. He loves it.
No, I grew up in a similar sort of thing, like always moving around and everything like that. And my dad didn't know anything about cars. Yeah. Like he couldn't teach me anything, so everything that I know is all self-taught or because I also came up in the pre-YouTube times. I didn't have Chris Fix here.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel that, and I believe you're doing, like Fury Garage, you're doing a series on...
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned Chris Fix. I don't think I've ever watched a Chris Fix video.
I haven't for personal need to work on things reasons, but I have for like the entertainment. Like, what is this Chris Fix guy about? Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, maybe I'll have to do the same. But I don't know, maybe it's because he's American and I'm only looking up how to make 31 not be shit, and like, he's never going to get that result. But anyway... so Fury Garage, it was an interesting one. Like you've sort of pulled out of me already, I've got a very strange relationship with cars that's taken me all over the world. And I enjoy doing what I do, but I didn't realise that not many people get to see the things that I do. Like, not necessarily because I'm doing them, but more because it's like not everyone's got an uncle with a 350 Statesman that needs the whole thing rebuilt, paint, motor, box, the lot, diff, everything. Not everyone gets to go to America and play with stuff. Not everyone gets to work on a dyno with a legend like John. You know, all these sorts of things. And so not everyone's got parents nice enough to let them park 50 million cars in their backyard, which is very nice of them. But yeah, so I ended up just starting to record stuff. So I would just bust out my phone and just film whatever it was I was doing and do a quick like blah, 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 whatever. And then just started cutting it together. And, you know, you see all the YouTube videos. Like, this is back when Hoonigan was first starting and watching all their content, and obviously Mighty Car Mods. Like, oh god, I'm actually in an episode of Mighty Car Mods.
Oh really?
It's still up there. That was back when my red wagon was still going, so I would have just finished high school. So I think I was in uni, so 2010. And damn. Yep, I went and saw them, met them in person, and they like, come. I told them this crazy story. Everything's a story with me. So driving to this event down to the Gold Coast, and something started going wrong with the 31. Like the gauges are starting to bounce around, my lights would die, and the radio would cut in and out. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't know anything about cars back then. I wasn't even interested in them. And I picked up my cousin, and we drove all the way down. I rang my dad. He's like, I don't know. He had busted his back or something at the time, so he was no help. I think he was actually at work. I can't remember. But he's like, look, you'll either make it or you won't. Just keep driving. I was like, sounds good to me. So we made it all the way to the Griffith Uni down to the Gold Coast there. Yeah. First set of lights off the highway. We stop. Car just dies. Key, nothing. So then we jump out and push it, and as we start pushing, the light turns green, and we push it through the intersection off to the side. Anyway, tow truck comes, tows us to safety. Guy comes and inspects the bushes on the alternator. He's like, I don't know what's wrong with it. So we ring RSEQ again. This is before, well, at least before I owned a smartphone. So I had a GPS that could give me distances and stuff, but I rang RSEQ and they're like, yeah, look, you've got 10 Ks free towing. What do you want to do? And I'm like, well, that's 60 k's home. So I guess, I don't know. And then I just started looking around on the map, and I could see where we were, and I could see where the Mighty Car Mods event was, and it was 9.8 kilometres. Perfect! Tow me there! So we got a tow truck to like the back suburbs, dumped us, we walked, and get in, and then I meet Marty and Moog, and they're like, oh, how's your day been? I was like, oh, boys, my day. And I like told them this huge story, and they're like, wow, that's epic. Anyway, how do you like Mighty Car Mods? I'm like, yeah, I love Mighty Car Mods. I've seen every episode. They're like, great. That was all I took. Just that one bit of the Mighty Car Mods. I was like, oh, man, I felt my story was good, but understandably, it's a huge video. I got to condense it down.
That's it.
But yeah, that was quite funny to meet them and be on an episode. I can't even remember where your question started. Oh, Fury Garage, that's right. Yeah, so watching all their stuff, I don't want to say it inspired me, but it definitely was something I was like, I like what they do, and I would love to be able to do what they do.
I would too, but their production value is massive.
Out of control.
Yeah.
And that's something that I still struggle with. It's funny, like becoming a mortgage broker, and becoming a mechanic even. So when you become a mechanic, they teach you how to fix cars and how to, that's it, fix cars, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And then you become qualified as a mechanic and you go work in a workshop, and they're like, all right, here's all the cars to fix. So you fix them for 5 years, and they go, hey, you're a really good mechanic. We're going to promote you to the shop manager. You go, great, you get a promotion. And you're like, I don't know how to manage. I don't know how to fix cars. And so then when the apprentice is fixing a car and you come over and go, no, you're doing it wrong, you don't know how to teach them how to do it right. You just come in and do it. So you just micromanage them. So then you just micromanage everyone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ideally, the shop you work for would give you a manager course or whatever so that you could upskill and all that sort of stuff. But to my experience, and whilst I don't have the most streamlined career that I've ever taken, but every single job I've ever had, if ever I get to move up or whatever, there's no lessons or anything. It's just, here's a new role, have fun by. And I find that it's the same thing with, mortgage broking for one, which is my main job.
Yeah.
I teach you how to be a mortgage broker. And whilst they have a diploma that sort of teaches you how to run the business, it's nowhere near as much as you need a marketing degree. You need a social media degree. You need to understand algorithms. It's just so in depth, and they don't cover it at all. And then you've got all this legislation over the top of you, so you don't even know where to start. It's just terrifying.
Good money though.
Oh yeah, great money if you can get around it. But
yeah.
It's hard work, and it's a lot of personal relation and referrals and whatnot.
Yeah, no, as someone who's got 2 mortgages.
Oh, great. Do you need a refi?
Well, I didn't know you were a mortgage broker before that, but...
See, I got to start talking more.
Yeah. No, but yeah, as someone who's seen the results of that, because my mortgage broker worked from home.
Oh, there you go.
She had a very, very, very extravagantly nice house.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, I'm not in any debt for any of it. And I'm like, fuck, I need to change careers.
Yes, well, see, that's the hard part, right? No one ever tells you when you get into this sort of stuff. Even podcasting is a great example, where you start with whatever you've got, and you just get going, and then you buy some mics and you buy whatever. And same with YouTube, you just buy bits and bobs. That's why I like using my phone, because you've always got a phone, so you just bust out. Sure, the quality sucks in the sense of production value.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, at least you've got the content recorded on your phone, and then you can just edit it and upload it. And the barrier is not that huge. Didn't Whistling Diesel, he used only an iPhone? He prefers iPhones over just about anything else, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I know I started with a phone as well.
Yeah.
My first few YouTube videos were at Archie, because I could catch a train there because I was young.
Yeah.
I could catch a train there, and I'd modified a fishing spear.
Yeah, nice.
And I've taken the pointy bit off and made a cage for my phone so I could get real low angles and everything like that.
That's sick.
So I could get super low and super close to the cars without actually being that close.
Wow.
Because I couldn't afford
a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just getting that start's the hardest part, right? So with the YouTube thing, I just started recording whatever I could and just cutting it together and uploading it. And I didn't get. My goal, I set a goal. I was like, okay, what's the monetization number? And when I first started, it was you need 1,000 subscribers, and that's it.
Yeah.
Great. I'll just hit 1,000 subscribers. That's my goal.
I got in before that, and you only needed 100 originally.
You lucky bugger.
Well, they took it off of me when they put it up to 1,000.
Oh, jerks.
So I've currently got 400 now, but
nice.
I've never really had. I've never aimed for a goal to get to a certain subscriber count.
Well, you got to be careful, because the mistake I made was I aimed for 1,000 subscribers and then just didn't check it again.
Yeah.
And so I started growing, and I was uploading content weekly, or that was my goal. Every week, put out an episode.
Yeah.
And some of them were okay, some of them were terrible. Some of them actually did really well. I accidentally became the expert in this C180 compressor Mercedes from 2000.
Yeah.
No one had information on them. There's no forums online. There's no videos. There's no nothing. And so I just bought a Haynes manual, funnily enough, and just started fixing the car and then uploading it, and suddenly I was the expert. And
you were the C180 guy,
dude. To the point that I went to a house party in Carolee and was there talking to some guys, and Stu was like, "Yeah, I'm a mechanic and we do Euro stuff." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And this is like maybe a year or so after I fixed the Mercedes, and I knew that it was a stupid car that had dumb problems. I was like, "Oh, do you fix many Mercedes?" He's like, "Yeah, you know what? We've actually had a lot of like C180s from the 2000s come through lately." I was like, "Oh, really? And you knew how to fix them?" He goes, "Well, I didn't at first, but I jumped on YouTube and there was this guy had a video and I just watched the video and then I knew how to fix them. So we were just doing like 5 a week." I was like, "What was the channel name?" He's like, "Oh, Fury Garage or something." And I was like, "Oh, this is my video. You're here making money off of me and I don't make any money off that video." They're like, one of those videos has got like 50 or 60,000 views.
Yeah, right.
Like, sure, it's only $5, but it's money.
Yeah.
And because I'm not monetized, they get nothing.
Yeah.
So that 4 video series has got over 100,000 views collectively, which is huge for a channel like mine.
Yeah.
But the problem, or the issue I had was I made all these videos and released everything, and my subscriber count went up to 1,000, and I hit 1,000. I'm like, yes, I hit my goal, thank goodness. Let's go monetize. And I went to the monetization section and I went to click the monetize button, and I realized that there's a goal of 1,000 subscribers and a goal of 4,000 community watch hours.
Yep.
I was at 3,800.
Yep.
And I was like, gotta be fucking kidding me. But my dumb brain couldn't refocus, or I didn't bother to, because it was just such an effort to get to 1,000. I was like, I'm done. I hate editing. It's so much work, and honestly, I was running low on content.
Yeah.
I can't even remember when it was. It must have been the Scooter episode was the 1,000 subscriber special, which was after I'd quit working at Jake at Midnight Oil. So it must have been 2021 or end of 2020. So tell you, I've been flat out and just with mortgage broking and a second job, and I was just like, I'm done. So I never pushed to get those 4,000 community watch hours because I was so close, especially with that Mercedes video. It was pushing me up like crazy because people don't come to my channel and then go, "Ooh, a Mercedes video." They just go, "Where's the Mercedes video?" and just search it through YouTube. And so that was bringing me all these hours that I would otherwise never get.
Yeah.
And so I was so close to getting over that threshold. If I just made a couple more videos, I would have got there. And now I've got like 300 community watch hours. Damn. God.
Yeah, so, I think I'm sitting about 300.
Yeah. Nice.
But like I'm only making like one video a week, and I'm not really trying on them too much.
It's the consistency. Even like I found that it got to the point. So I got motivated and I had some short videos. And I punched out like 4 videos in a day and then scheduled them. Yeah. And then after that month went by, trying to get back into it was just torture.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can just stay consistent, even if the videos like don't make them suck. Put effort in obviously, but don't feel like they have to be Mighty Car Mods level production with voiceovers and green screens.
No, that's always the toughest.
So those guys are literally professionals at all that stuff, and then they do YouTube and play cars.
Yeah.
Whereas we're like kind of professional at cars and then play YouTube.
Yeah.
It just doesn't demand it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So anyway, in lieu of that, it doesn't work. I was like, how can I monetize this garbage some other way? And I found that every time I would tell people about the builds I do, for example, the Mark III Supra, like that car is 2J, manual, rear-wheel drive, target top, sports car, pop-ups, like it's black. It's not the greatest paint job, but it's black.
Yeah.
Big far cannon. Like this is a dream car for a lot of people, and it's a great starting base. And at the time during COVID, it would have been. I think I bought the car in 22, and I built it. No, I bought it in 21 and built it at the start of 22. I think that those cars for a like crappy one with a stock motor was like 15.
Yeah.
And I built that whole car for 6.
Yeah.
Which to me was something to be proud of because 10 years earlier I thought of the build idea, like it wasn't very creative obviously or original because everyone's like put a 2J in a Supra, oh genius. But at the time I was like dumb and didn't know anything. I'm like, I want a Supra but I can't afford a Mark IV, but Mark III's are cheap and I put a Mark IV engine in Mark III, that's great. So I figured I could do it for about $5,000. So to hit 6 in the middle of COVID, I thought that was pretty good.
What's wild is, remember the Mark II?
Yeah.
The MA61?
Dude, I still want one.
I picked up a semi-rolling shell, a half-rolling shell for free.
What?
Yeah, this was back in 2000 and... it would have been 2011 or 2012.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I picked it up for free. It was just listed on Facebook as like, hey, just come get it out of my shed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went and picked it up and I brought it back with the intentions of doing like a fucking 2J swap or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I got all the bits, got it rolling, got the interior back together, all that sort of stuff, and then I sold the fucking thing.
Why? Sell it to me.
Yeah.
How much you make?
I sold it for $800.
Oh my god. What colour was it?
Red.
What's the interior?
The grey suede with the digital dash.
Oh, break my heart. man.
Yeah, mine too. Because every time I think about that car, I'm like, I shot myself so hard in the foot. But now, for whatever reason, a half decent one of them is like 15, 20 grand, and I'm like, how?
It's nuts.
How?
It's funny because they're not worth it. But if I had 15 grand, I'd still buy one.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't make any sense.
If I had 200 million like in the lotto the other week, I'd buy one for 15 grand, not a problem. But at 15 grand, like I'm not even buying the A86.
Oh god, no. You know, it's funny at the same time that you bought that car, I actually had the opportunity to buy a black one. So it was black with black interior.
Yep.
It was great. It had been sitting in the weather and it had no motor, no box. But it was all right. And the guy, God. People would recognise this down in Albury, Wodonga. It was like an old service station on the way out of Albury on the north side.
Yeah.
And this guy, he was trying to start an automotive museum. So he had all these incredible cars. Like, I'm talking, picture a servo and then just put a really shitty chain like this across the front of it. And it's just packed. You can barely walk between the cars. There is like 150 cars crammed in this thing. And there's like, this isn't even half of them. He's got me, but worse. And we're walking through, and there's Maserati, Ferrari, like an imported 2.2 litre, what are those rear-wheel drive mid-engine MR2s?
Yeah, yep.
2 Supras in the paddock, like all this garbage just hanging around, and it's just incredible. Like, the Maserati had Ferrari engine, and bloody whatever it is, a kinetic. What are those wings called? The adjustable.
Oh
wings.
yeah,
That pop up.
Yeah, yep.
And it's from like '86. I was like, dude, I didn't even know Maserati was making cars back then, let alone with Ferrari engines.
Yeah.
It was like a front-wheel drive V8 or some crap.
Well, Maserati was always Ferrari.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Basically.
I like Toyotas, man.
Yeah.
But it just blew my mind. And we were like wandering around, and the guy had a Civic with 2 engines in it, like just random stuff. And we get to the point, and I'm like, all right, what about the Supras? That's all I care about. He goes, oh, yeah, I don't want them. I was like, oh, well, how much do you want for it? He goes, $600 for the black one. I was like, done. I'll come pick it up next week. And I went and worked with my uncle, who had the 31, and he paid me $550 for the job I did with him in Sydney. I was like, can you just give me 50 more? He's like, no, 550 is already too much. Just take it and go. I was like, fine. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any income, and I was seeing this chick. And of course, she's like, oh, can we go to dinner? There's $50. Oh, can we do this? $50. And before I knew it, within like 3 weeks, I was out of money.
Yeah.
God damn it. And then I got the opportunity to call that guy in 2016, 2017. I was like, hey, do you remember me? He's like, yeah, I remember you. You never ended up buying that car. I'm like, oh, well, I came back to buy it one day, and then all the cars were gone, and so now I'm ringing you. He goes, oh, great. Well, the car's for sale. I'm like, great, how much? He goes, well, it's a lot worse condition than you last saw it. Someone smashed all the windows. Someone else jumped on the roof, and the hatch is rusted through. But I've got another hatch that is also rusty. Oh, my God. How much do you want for it? He goes, oh, $5,000.
Far out.
Like, what? He's like, yeah, the hatch itself is $1,000. Well, dude, the whole car was $600 4 years ago. What the hell? He's like, yep, too bad.
Yep.
God,
no, it's a weird world to miss out on that.
It is. But anyway, circling back, so the whole YouTube thing.
Yeah.
So I started video and crap because I was doing random stuff that other people, I guess, didn't get to do. And a lot of that was with my mate Luke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen many of the videos with Luke, with Clifford, the big old blue Hilux and whatnot, but Luke's big into his four drives.
Yeah, I do remember seeing it.
Yeah, Luke's big into his 4 drives, so he's always doing builds, and I'm doing builds with him, so it just made sense to film that stuff. And it was easy to film that because he's doing stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm filming, it's like, here's the things I did. Now I'm going to put the camera down and do the things, because I didn't even have a tripod or anyone to help me because I'm filming in the middle of the day, so it just never lined up. But anyway, so filming the content with Luke was great. He's an awesome guy. We had a lot of fun doing that, and some great builds came out of it. Got the twin turbo LS 80 series, got the 5 litre Hilux. I think we did a Jeep. I don't know if I filmed all of that. There's all sorts of random crap in there. A couple of bike burnouts, they were fun. But so we did those builds, and then I sort of thought about it and did, the Supra, and I did a VS Commodore before that. Even my 31s, I built them as cheaply as possible. Like, I turbo swapped my 31. I think I paid for the boost gauge. That was it. Everything else is free. And every time I tell these stories, people are always like, how the hell do you manage to achieve this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know, I just do. And then I sort of started thinking about it, and you watch YouTube channels and like Donut Media and stuff, and they build those WRXs, for example.
Yeah.
And like, sure, one's expensive and one's cheap, but the cheap one is still so much more expensive than I could ever even dream to afford. They're throwing thousands of dollars on a single part at it, and they're like, hey, this is the cheap one.
Yeah, the high-low, and their low is like 10,000, and their high is like 15. It's like, that didn't miss much from your high and low.
It's ridiculous, yeah. So it just didn't make sense to me, and even the budget builds that I do see, guys are like, yeah, so we bought this car for $200, but then Holly sponsored us with an EFI Sniper, and you're like, dude, that's fucking $10,000 right there. Like, how am I supposed to afford the car now? I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, there's a hole here. Why don't I try and fill it with some kind of everyone these days is doing the online education course like the HP Academy.
Yep.
And whilst I don't want to take away from what they're doing, because it is very professional and it's for professionals, if you want to step your game up, that's who you go to. And rightly so, because if you were to try and go to a workshop and learn that, it would take so long, and then you have no idea if the guy's teaching you the right thing or not. These guys are under scrutiny constantly from every expert in the field, so they're going to have only correct information, which is amazing. But then trying to get it, digest it, and then use it is a tricky thing. And like I said, I've only done the one course, so I can't speak to all of it, but I felt like they were missing the hobbyist, where you could jump online and watch a YouTube video that says this is how X, Y, and Z works, and then you go away and do that. But then it's like, how do you make X pay for Y, and then Z gets added on top, which amplifies X, which makes Y effectively pay for Z as well? And you're like, it sounds ridiculous, but like the Supra is a great example. So I bought a whole Lexus and it had a running 2J in it. And the only downside was that it had been bananaed by a school bus.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to deal with all the garbage that comes along with a Lexus, scrapping the body, dealing with the damage, cutting, trying to get the engine to work. There's broken parts on the engine, so now I have to figure out how to fix them. Like the alternator mount is clean snapped off. I think on 2Js they're like part of the oil pump.
Right.
Yeah, the oil pump housing. So
I know with 4As, they're a part of the water pump.
Maybe it's part of the water pump.
Yeah.
But it's just cleanly snapped off the block. So then it's like, okay, how do I solve this problem without having to buy a whole new thing and pull the motor apart? There's lots of issues that you need to figure out. But at the same time, I was able to buy a whole car for $2,000, sell $1,000 worth of parts off it, and then end up with a palatable amount for an engine that I desperately wanted. The whole world is paying 8 times as much for.
Yeah.
So there's ways that you can go around building a car to make it more affordable, and I feel like that's where the biggest barrier to entry is for most people. Is they go to build a car and they buy the 8.6 that's destroyed because they've seen Fast and Furious, and they go, $10,000 and overnight parts from Japan. It's like, dude, $10,000 doesn't even buy you a set of wheels anymore. What's it?
$500 for my first 8.6.
So
I swapped it for $1,500 my way for another 8.6 shell.
Nice.
And then I swapped that $1,100 my way for the third 8.6 shell, which then I sold for $7,000.
Yeah, wow.
So I was up all this money, and I spent $300 on a big port 4A and wiring, loom, ECU, everything like that, and then $600 on a T50.
What?
And that's all I'd spent on it. So
see, they're the sort of things that inspire me, because I don't care if you can throw $100,000 at a car.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter to me. Like, I can do the same if I had $100,000, but
I was up $2,000.
Yeah, I want to hear the hustle. I want to hear the.
And if I had done the wiring and just worried about the wiring, and just fix the suspension, like there was like $500 in wiring and everything like that, and then like say $1,500 in suspension and steering. Like, so for net positive money, I've got a lightweight, small, fun drift car.
And how good, right?
Yeah.
Like when I worked at Next Up, I was lucky enough to get to drive the 32 GTR, right? Thing made at the time 1,000 at all falls or 980 or something ridiculous. I was geeking sequential. This thing was an animal. Like, it's just the definition of warp speed.
Yep.
Now, granted, the fastest thing I've driven prior to then was like a Corolla. Hey mate, you joke.
I love Corollas,
dude. 2002 Corollas,
yep,
so fast, they're ridiculous. I kept up with a boosted S15 once. I mean,
yeah,
sure, it's because I probably had more stupidity than him. But
would have been the Sportivos, but yeah, those 1.8.
They're crazy.
Sportivos,
anyway,
good.
Very fast car, but jumping in this GTR was obviously next level.
Yep.
And yeah, it just blew my mind. But that being said, I ended up buying a car from John at Next Up. He was daily driving a 93 or 92 Corolla that had a silver top 20 valve in it.
Yep.
And I thought this thing was the best thing ever. It had this lumpy idle. Turns out it was because it was running a blacktop ECU and a blacktop harness in a silver top, so it just ran like garbage. But he was like, yeah, $1,500, you get this car that runs and drives with 2 days of rego, and this other car that I don't know anything about, but it has a silver top in it. I was like, that's a deal. So he just docked my pay. Not that I was getting paid much anyway, but in the end I ended up with these 2 cars. I yanked the motor out of that one, scrapped the rest, and yeah, it was the most fun car I've ever driven. You just bombing around this thing, it's like bah, 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 and then you hit like $5,000, just what? Just opens up, the ITBs are screaming. It's like, this is what driving cars is about. I don't care, it doesn't make any power. The smile on my face, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it's just, well, that's exactly why I'm building an AE92 Levin. That's exactly why I've got an AE86. Like, I've got the 32, and I spend less time driving that than I do the other cars because I don't know, something about driving a shit box at 90% or 100% is like at 110 horsepower is more fun to me than driving something that's got 1,000 horsepower at 10% going holy fuck.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then the thing I find that never wears out on those old shitty cars is you never get... I feel like this is going to be interpreted incorrectly, but you never get used to the power in the sense of you can always extract just a little bit more in a new creative way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but like when you're in a boosted high horsepower car, you just mat it and it's like you're getting all the power.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a dial you can turn up, but that's it. You're getting it all. But I find with the little Corollas and stuff, you can, I don't know, somehow hit a corner faster and you're like, I don't know. Like I used to bomb this hill in my old Suzuki Sierra.
Yeah.
And you'd hit the V8 supercar line over the chicanes and you're on two wheels in a Sierra going down this hill and it just feels faster and faster and faster. I go through there in an Evo way faster than I ever did in my Suzuki. You just go meep meep and it's done. It doesn't care.
Yeah.
And it's like, why was the Sierra so much more fun and like felt like you were just going way faster?
It's like and this is something that I find interesting about racing too. Like you look at like high end proper touring cars and all that sort of stuff. They'll often say the line that feels the fastest is often not the fastest.
Yeah.
And it's because what is it? Smooth is slow, slow is fast.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's like the old principle behind it, and that's why they got like the outside, inside, outside part of like how you take a corner or how you come down and hook and then go straight out again.
Yeah.
Like the fastest line is like to come in like super aggressive and nice and tight, and then you're like throwing it around like on the inside. It's not the fastest, but like when you drive a shitbox car, you feel like you can bomb cars more like.
Do you remember, it was a few years ago now, but there was two races in the Improved Production Series, and it was that little red Honda Civic at Bathurst. And
Yeah.
So the driver, Jordan Cox, I actually went to TAFE with him down in Victoria.
Yeah, right.
The old Coxie, he actually got married recently, so if you've seen this Coxie, which I doubt, congratulations. But
you can share it with him.
I'll give it a go. He barely returns my messages.
Yeah.
But he's a hilarious dude, and his whole life is just tunnel vision on racing, and I don't blame him. He's so good at it, and every time I see him drive, like I remember I went to World Time Attack Challenge once in 2017, I think, and he was driving an Evo 8 in like the streetcar class or something.
Yeah.
And we got there, we were like one of the first people in the gate, and we were like walking underneath the track to go up onto the roof. And as we get up on the roof, we see this Evo 8 go past, and the announcer comes over, and it's like the first announcement of the day, and it's like, and there goes Jordan Cox setting a new lap record for his category on the first out lap. I'm like, what the hell, man? And he's just like, I don't know, I go black when I get in the car, and I just end up winning at the other end. It's like, it's insane. But watching him drive that Civic with the A8 6 battle at Adelaide, I couldn't believe it. Like, I love how people have edited the Initial D music over the top. It's like coming through that first chicane and he takes him on the outside. It's like, I've never seen anyone make that maneuver. Even the announcers were just like, nutty! Like, it's so funny. But I feel like that little Civic was just the epitome of that. Like, I'm just going.
And that's like if you look at that 8.6, like it was 3SG turbo. And like he was so much more aggressive coming out of corners and like he was hanging it out. He had more power, but that chicane move was exactly the epitome of the bomb the shitbox faster.
Exactly.
Because like he has to let off and he's got all the speed to wash off and everything like that, and he's got the extra weight and he's got less grip because he's been going harder on his tyres. And that Civic was just able to pick the better line through there, and it had less weight, less wear.
To your point, it's not even the logical line anymore.
No.
It's just like the dude's going into the wall and somehow he just manages to stick it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It brings a tear to my eye. I love watching that sort of stuff. But so the whole YouTube thing and then doing the crazy stupid builds that are really cheap, it all culminated in how can I bring this to people so that they can do it themselves. And so I decided to make something called Fury Garage Academy, which I'll shamelessly plug right here. Stickers and everything. Fury Garage Academy. So the idea with it was just trying to get everything out of my brain when I do a build and compress it into something that someone can read, watch, whatever medium I can get it across to them in, so they can do their own build.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, I've never built a website and I've never built an education course. I've done plenty of teaching. I did 10 years of like nerd camp and then a couple of years of summer camp in America, and I do love teaching. I actually like teaching more than I like cars, which is kind of funny, but I've done it for longer too.
No, that's, I mean, it sort of tracks. Like one of the big things about liking cars is being able to share that experience with other people.
Exactly,
Like very rarely do you work on cars in a vacuum.
Yeah, I always found that whenever people ask me to help them with their cars, I obviously I do it and I really enjoy it. But out the other end, if I never got to see them use it or enjoy that time that we put into that vehicle, like they just sold it without finishing it, that irked me so much. Like, I don't care if the car never gets done. I would prefer it if it did. Yeah. But I just want to see you enjoy it. That's all I care about.
And that's exactly, that's sort of what I mean. That's a natural progression. And I feel very much the same sort of way as like if I'm helping a friend with a project, like if I'm bringing something to the table for you, I want to be able to see you enjoy it. I want to be able to teach you how to do this thing, so next time, like, you don't even have to ask me, you can just do it yourself.
Exactly.
I think that's just like a natural progression, I think, for a lot of car people. And
obviously we've always been paid pizza or beer, but it never really covers the cost of the learning that we had to do leading up to that point.
No.
But I feel that the repayment is seeing that person enjoy the vehicle,
or them letting us enjoy it as well.
Yeah. But, it's funny, Luke with his Land Cruisers and stuff, I think I've driven Clifford twice, maybe ever.
Yeah.
I just don't like driving them. I like watching him drive it. It's way more fun. He's better at it too. I'm terrible at full driving. But it was always good fun. So the idea was to just try and compress everything out of my brain into some kind of online course.
Yep.
And I feel like I've done that it took me like 10 months or 9 months or whatever to build the course and build the website and everything, because I'm doing it, I'm working, like I said, 2 jobs and building businesses and everything, so I'm like trying to just get it all done in my spare time, so it's 4 a.m. and that's 10 at night or whatever it needs to be. I got it off the ground and I told myself I would launch it at the end of 2023, so come December 31st, I'm in the shed, my parents' house, I'm like, God, it's not done, launch. And then I'm like spending the next 3 hours trying to make it neater because I hated how it all looked once I launched it, but it's given me a lot of motivation, and whilst I've not had a huge amount of traction, I have had a few people come through, and the feedback's been positive so far. So
that's great.
I'm always refining it. I've always got it open on my browser, even in the office. If I ever get sick of writing mortgages, I'll just go do some Fury Garage Academy. It's great. And I'm pretty proud of how far it's come. I think that there's a lot of value there, not necessarily in the actual builds themselves, because I understand that not everyone wants to build a Mark III Supra or a VS Commodore or a WRX engine. They're the main 3 that I've got up there at the moment.
Yeah.
Whilst nothing in there is specific. Like, I don't tell you, look for a GS300 and then buy that and then buy this and buy that. I just go, this is how I approached this build. These are the things that I thought of when I went to go find a motor, and these are the ideas I had to find a cheaper motor, or maybe I could sell some parts off the car in order to afford a different thing, or whatever it may be.
But one of the quickest way to get a motor is research what cars that they came in.
Exactly, yeah. Just all that sort of stuff.
Don't just be looking for the same model as yours.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that was the thing, right? Like, you could buy it out of a twin turbo 2J. You could buy a twin turbo 2J out of a Supra, or the 2J itself is identical to, like, across all platforms, excluding the heads and the rods. So the VVTi 2J got the NA1, got the weakest rods of all the 2Js. They still hold like 400, which is basically what an RB30 will hold. So, we're not really at a disadvantage there. And then the head, the VVTi NA head, is the highest or best flowing 2J head they ever made.
Yep.
So you're already up there. So it's like, realistically, whilst these motors are valued poorly, they're probably undervalued, because they're like, maybe I shouldn't be saying this because I still want to build some cars with some 2Js that are out of GSs, but they're like it's the hardest part is, I find the GSs have got security systems in them. Yeah. So you got to like figure out the ECU, and I was lucky enough that Supra, the shell, actually came with a 2J ECU.
Yeah, right.
Go figure. And once I worked out that it was a security thing, I just plugged it in and it worked. I couldn't believe it. Off I go. So
nice.
That was very lucky, but yeah, so I built these courses, and I felt like the courses maybe didn't have enough value in them, so I decided to add other aspects to the I guess, academy. And one of them is like discounts. So as I'm sure you're aware, Repco, Autobarn, Supercheap, they've all got discounted like avenues to take advantage of discounts, but a lot of people don't know about them, or they don't use them, and as a result, you're leaving money on the table, right? Like
one really quick one. If you go onto the Repco website and you can sort by vehicle and then sort by clearance, and you would be surprised how many clearance items there are for older vehicles in particular.
I'm gonna note that down.
Yeah.
Any other secrets you want to...
We have one customer. He has a Ford Laser, and like that is his whole thing. Like he just loves this Ford Laser. It's like an '87 sort of thing. Like I don't have one anymore because I don't work there anymore. But he used to come in and he was like, "Oh, what's the price on this? Or do you have any clearance?" But I taught him how to go onto the website and go through and search by clearance.
Nice.
And if he ever needed anything, he came in with a list of part numbers, and he's like, "This is on clearance. This is on clearance. This is on clearance. Wow. Can you get these for me?" And it saved me an hour every time he came in, because he'd be wanting to look at each part number, or like each part in particular, and then ask if there's clearance versions and so on and so forth. So yeah, no, this helped because he also had an LH Tirana.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, he used to go through in his different cars and used to so you can search it by clearance items as well if you're ever needing to do something on, because what'll happen is Repco owns their own brands, and when they rebrand, all the old stuff goes to clearance. So it'll all still be the same parts, but you'll get clearance versions of it because it's in a different box.
That's awesome. I'll definitely put that on the website.
There's definitely ways to do it. Like currently, Fuel Miser's being discontinued for OEX.
Oh, okay.
So all the Fuel Miser stuff, you can pick up genuine parts. Like a mate got genuine S14 distributor. Airflow meters. Genuine S14, S15 airflow meters.
Yeah.
$28 each.
They're stocking you 31 airflow meters?
No, but like I said, if you go on and you have a look and just punch it in and get searched by clearance,
that's awesome, dude.
There's some great deals out there.
But that's what I mean. Like, I've been playing around with cars for well over 15 years now. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So there's always more that you can learn, and I feel that the value that I add to this website is that I've spent a long time finding all this stuff out the hard way, and a lot of it is building relationships. Like, you got was it Lockie Brown that you used to work with? Lachlan Brown?
That was before my time.
Okay. Well, anyway, he's a good mate of mine, and so building relationships with him really helped getting some ideas and understanding of how Repco worked. And then even over at Burson's in was it West? No, I don't know. Over near the cemetery there. There's a dude named Zach who works there. I've been building a relationship with him for a couple of years now. He's an awesome guy. And it's funny. I'll ring the shop and I'll get one of the other people like Steph or something. I'm like, oh, hey, Steph, it's Jamie. She's like, you want Zach? I was like, oh, you can help me. She's like, no, I don't want to help you. Pass me over Zach. She knows I'm going to ask, like, I've got this car with this engine out of another car and I need a part for a third car. And too hard. Zach will deal with it.
Yeah.
But you build that relationship, and Zach's always happy to talk to me. Like, we go for hikes from time to time. I know his brother, and like, he's a really cool dude. And so just building that relationship can save you so much in the long run. And Burson's, they have the option of a trade account if you can get access to it. But that's on staff discretion. They'll give you a trade account if they feel that you deserve one.
Yeah.
And so, getting that trade account saved me thousands of dollars over the years. But I'll always go back to Burson's because I get that customer service, I get that friendly face, I get that person that wants to help me, and at the end of the day, I get a better price.
Definitely get yourself a staff discount if you think trade discounts are good.
Yeah, well, at Supercheap, man, the tiered discounts they run, I go up to the front counter and pay for stuff sometimes, and the staff balk at the price and go, how did you get this discount? This is better than what I get.
Yeah.
Like, join Fury Garage Academy and I'll teach you.
Yeah.
But no, it's... The education course, I feel, is the meat of it, but there's just ancillary stuff around it. There's even a tools section, so it'll go through, and I think my beginner toolkit's like $1,200, and that gives you, I feel, everything you need to build a car from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but you buy a turd and fix it.
Yeah.
And while that's expensive, if you were to go to Snap-on and try and buy all that sort of stuff, like that $1,200,
$50,000.
That $1,200 includes a torque wrench.
Yeah, right.
Like a Snap-on torque wrench is $900.
Yeah.
So like, anyway. So I feel that there's always a budget approach, and just trying to get someone with knowledge that's been doing it for a while and compress all that into a website that's easily digestible with links that are regularly checked. I must admit I haven't checked them in a minute, so I probably should. But just stuff that's up to date. And, I'm only a one-man band, so you can reach out to me. I don't get a huge amount of emails after hours. At work I get like hundreds. But, at home I can respond to emails if people have got questions about builds. I've even got an emergency help button, which I have not seen before, so please don't steal my idea if someone else sees this. But it's basically, if you're building a car and you get to a point where you're like, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. I've been following this idiot I found on FGA. Now I need some help. And not everyone has a friend that they can go to or a workshop they can go to get that expert advice. So I put an emergency help button up. You hit the button. There's a fee that is supposed to be one that stops you from doing it for no reason. Like you're committed. I'm hitting this button. And then you can book into a Zoom meeting with me. So wherever you are in the world, I'll sit down with you, we'll run through your entire build, and we'll go, right, this is where I feel you could change things to make it work better. This is how I would solve the problem you're currently running into. Here's the rest of your build finished off so that you can actually get out and enjoy the car, not so that you're just stuck where you have to sell it or you hate it or whatever it may be. Yeah. Because I feel like there's so many roadblocks that people run into that it's prohibitively difficult or prohibitively expensive, and you just get to that point and you're like, it's too much, I've got to get rid of it. And so many people, if they could make it past that roadblock, would have such a great time on the cars, I feel. Yeah. But so many people run into that spot and just go, nah, too much.
My biggest roadblock is I keep running out of money.
Yeah, well, don't we all, right? So, funnily enough, in Fury Garage Academy, I've actually got ways to make money. Now, whilst they're not very well fleshed out and semi-lofty, one of the big ones I feel is 3D printing.
Yeah, and this is something that I've been looking at because I want to be able to, and Nissan's into, like, specific, because I have a 32, you have 31s, Brock has 31s. Nissans tend to have bad interior plastics, especially on their doors. Just print it, like if I could get a scan on like the power window switch surround, or the plastic clips for where the door lock covers are on your 31, or stuff like that, like your bezels and your handle bits and pieces. Like if you could print that sort of stuff, there's going to be good money there.
Absolutely there is, and you can print that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had more time to sit down and just like I had a scanner and would just scan the stuff. It would be enjoyable for me, but I feel like you say there's so much of a market out there, and I find that the Mark III Supras actually have a bigger following worldwide, obviously, because that's the majority. Like 31s are expensive now. Like I met a dude at Halfway Haynes who bought one who paid 16 grand for it.
Damn.
Like I don't think I've ever spent that much money on anything. Actually, no, I've spent more than that on my wagon, but that's had like 10 motors.
Buy price though.
Buy price. It's just offensive. And I looked at the car, it's like, I mean, it's got some good parts on it, but it's very much thrown together, like every hack build is.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like there's enough money to throw around at, I don't know, like I could be completely wrong. Like my cousin Jake, he designed from scratch a cup holder and a phone holder for 31s, and he's trying to sell them at the moment. I think he's still building his website or whatever it is, but it's going to be under Fusionable, will be the sale product website company. And it's a great little part, and he managed to print one and bring it down. He actually, Taylor McMillan. Or So Jake spent the entire weekend looking at all the 31s to try and find the one that he thought was the best one. And he felt like Taylor's was the best.
Everyone does. There's a good reason for it.
So he left it on Taylor's dash with a sticker. So Taylor got this one as a gift, I guess. So hopefully Taylor will rock that, and that'll generate a bit of revenue down towards Jake. But yeah, he spent a long time designing that while he was at uni and everything. And whilst it's a basic part, just like he didn't have a 31 down there, so I'm sending him measurements. They're all wrong, of course, and then you have to I've had to dig a center console out for him and send it down, and then it turns out the TI console's got different angles and sizes to the GXE console and all that sort of stuff. So there's so much that goes into it, and it's just such a basic part that doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the car. So when you go down to things like door locks and whatever, it's like you could spend the rest of your life designing that fucking lock. It's just so, without the measurements from this, and even with the measurements from this, and when you print stuff, it shrinks and expands and changes shape, and it's full on. But the 31 community doesn't seem to be behind it that much yet. So it would be nice to get ahead of that curve, but I don't have the time. I just design parts that I need and then advertise them, and if people want them, they can buy them. Like a good one that I've done recently, probably the most recent one, was on the Evo 9, or on any Evo. They don't have anywhere to put your fuel cap when you undo it, so it's tethered to the car, but then it just touches the car. So I want that. It's a brand new paint job, so it clips into the actual door face, and then you just sit the cap on that. It's a great little piece. I've got,
I did see you post that up.
Yeah, Evo 9, FG, whatever on it, and I think that's an awesome piece. But there's one guy that's bought one. It's because I know him, and I think he was like, "That's cool. Can I buy one?" I was like, "It's however much." He's like, "Do you have any cheaper ones?" I was like, "Here's a scrap print that I failed at." He's like, "Oh, great, I'll take it." And it's stuff doesn't line up or whatever, but it's still functional. So yeah, it's one of those things, right? You can make money off of it, and I need the marketing degree. I need the time. I need the algorithm. I need the TikTok. I do have a TikTok. A friend of mine posted a few videos for me from some of the content we've cut up. So that's some interesting stuff, but just you got to have consistency. You got to have effort, and it's just there's so many different things to stay on top of. So right now, all I'm focusing on is doing my job to get some mortgage broker money going, so I can actually afford to build these turds, and then playing with Fury Garage Academy whenever I can to try and get that off the ground. I feel that there's a lot of value there that people can take advantage of, and for $7 a month, it is cheap. And if you buy it on a yearly subscription of $50 a year, it's is it $5 a month? I can't maths. No, it's less than $5 a month.
12, yeah, no,
maybe
that's
it's $60 a year. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I should probably know the cost of my own product. But anyway, it's extremely cheap for what you get. If you go in there and just take advantage of all the automotive discounts, you'll immediately save money or make money back on what you spend.
You'll have to add that Repco on.
I will, I'll have to remember, actually. I've got an ideas. In my phone, I've just got a note section called ideas, and man, it's ridiculous. I realised halfway through, I'm like, I should actually go back and start reading these and implementing them, but I just keep adding to it. It's just the list is getting huge, so One day I'll find 5 minutes and build it all out more.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Video ideas, I've got that sort of in my phone as well.
Yeah, well, you know what this means now that we've done this podcast, mate? We're going to have to do a collaboration one. Maybe next year's halfway we can actually roll down together. You get one extra day off. Or was that Brock's fault?
Nah, that was kind of both of us.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like I'd just been let go that week.
Oh, really?
But yeah, like part of it was like, yeah, he's got wife and kids and all that sort of stuff, and
yeah, fair enough.
I'm socially awkward most of the time, so I'm just like, I don't want to go down and hang out with people. I want to rock up and do the car show because that starts at midday. We've got heaps of time to drive down. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we had a great time. We went the is it the Lion Road or something? There's like
the one down the
through the mountains.
Yeah.
It was spectacular. But we got to a lookout and some guy came over to us and he's like, hey, you guys going south? We're like, yeah, because there's a really energetic highway patrol cop cruising this road. I'm like,
but
which way was he going? He's like, south. We're like, all right, well, I guess we're following him. Just crossed our fingers and made it. But yeah, it's fun, the old gauntlet run, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like we got down and didn't have any dramas until day 2.
Yeah.
When we went to roll up to the track and they had that fucking the guys pulled over under the bridge.
Oh yeah.
We got pulled over and he got pinged because he didn't have his license on him.
That's not a requirement in Queensland.
It was technically in New South Wales,
see, okay, this is a gripe I have. So when I was down in Victoria studying motorsport,
yeah,
we lived in Victoria and studied in Victoria, but a lot of us would go to Albury, which is in New South Wales. Some of them I lived in New South Wales for a while down there. And every time you cross the border, some of us had P plates. It's like, do we need to display what speed limit do we have to do? Like all this sort of stuff. And the TAFE wanted us to go to like a police education night for people on driver safety. And so we went to it and we had to show up in our uniforms and everything to like save face because we're all a bunch of motorsport idiots. Of course, we're going to get in trouble with the police. So they're like, we got to save face to go down there.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of the night, they're like, oh, are there any questions? And they talked about don't drink, don't drive. Had some dude in a wheelchair there giving us a hard time. It's funny, actually, about a year later, I saw him at the pub, and man, he was a degenerate. Nice guy, but he was just stealing everyone's drinks and just taking advantage of it. I was like, man, you're a great spokesperson. But anyway, so the cops were there, and at the end of the night comes, and they were expecting people to be like, oh, how much can I drink or whatever. All the parents that were there were like, what are the fucking laws when I cross the goddamn border? What do I do with my kid? What license do I need? How do I present the people? What do we do? What law do I follow? And the cop's like, we don't know. What do you mean you don't know? What am I supposed to do? They're like, well, you just need to drive to whatever you feel is appropriate. Like, what's appropriate? You're doing 110 and 110 zone, not fucking 80 like your stupid plates tell me to do in New South Wales.
Yeah.
But then when I go to Victoria, do I follow their laws, which is 110, or do I follow New South Wales laws, which is what my license reflects? And they're just like, yeah, it's a grey area. Just hope the cop that you get pulled over by doesn't hate your decision.
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yep.
Just ridiculous.
And that was exactly it. He got done $129 and see you later.
Were there any points?
No.
Oh, well, at least that's a blessing.
Yeah, but still $129 for something that isn't against the law.
Yeah, it's
technically here.
Well, it's funny, right? Like, I've been pulled over a lot. And, like, most of my cars are sleepers, or at least they look kind of standard because I get pulled over all the time.
Yeah.
That was a funny story in and of itself, which I can tell later if you like. But I would get pulled over very, very regularly. And it got to the point where the police would never pull me over when I was doing something wrong. They would just pull me over. And every time they did, they would sort of feel like either they would have to catch me out by asking me not an incriminating question, but like leading me into like I'm telling them something wrong.
Yeah.
Or let me go. And they don't like letting people go. They like getting tickets, especially when it's a young guy, P plates, driving a Skyline or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And sure, it's a 31 wagon, but it's still a Skyline. So
yeah.
So they were just like, I got so many tickets for shit I never did. Like, I had a cop pull me over once and go, do you know how fast you were going? I was like, well, I was in the middle of Ipswich, right? So it used to be the speed limit varied between 40 and 60.
Yeah.
Like, do you know how fast you were going? I was like, well, it depends on where I was. He goes, in Ipswich. I'm like, well, between 40 and 60. He goes, do you know what the speed limit was? I'm like, between 40 and 60. He goes, all right, 60 to 40 zone. That's, there you go. Are you kidding me? Like, what the hell? I didn't admit to that. He's like, well, you can go to court. I was like, great. So a teenager is going to go to court against a veteran police officer and argue 20 Ks in the centre. It's just not. And what were you driving? Skyline. Oh, yeah, right. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other issue. I always try to treat the police with respect, and I think I've gotten away with a lot more than I should have because yes officer, no officer, my keys are on the
3
roof,
bags
officer.
full, sir.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to take your licks when you get them, right?
Yeah, no, fuck the cops.
Is it FTV?
Yeah.
That's what everyone sprays all around the train stations.
Yeah.
Gosh. So what's next for your builds, mate?
That's a great question. 32 is going to Brock's, going to do some body work on that.
Yeah.
The AE86, I need to do the starter motor. I need to finish building the motor in the AE92 so I can pull the AE86 off the road. And then when I do that, I'll probably do the engine swap, do the 18RG swap in the RA40.
I didn't know you had an RA40.
Yeah, RA40 Celica with an 18RG. Like I got so this is a fun story. Back in 2019, or 2018, I sold, like, I had this RA40, and like I had a guy come from Japan, and we did a meet and everything like that. And then after that, I was like, I've got to sell the car. I was unemployed at the time, and then I sold the car to this bloke, and then messaged him in 2021, and I'm just like, hey man, been thinking about this car a bit lately, just wanted to see how you going with it, like where'd you get to, what'd you get up to? He's like, because of my health I've been kind of thinking about selling it. So I'm like, well, if you do, just let me know, I really like that car, and it was real fun to drive, and it was a good car. Then 2023, mid 2023, he messaged me. He's like, hey, do you want that car?
Sick.
He's like, you've got first dibs. I'm not advertising it.
Wow.
I do have an 18RG with it. I do have a second W50. The interior's been stripped out. So I sold it to him for $2,000. I bought it back. The car was $1,000, and the 18RG and the W50 were $1,500 on top.
Still not bad.
Yeah, so like an 18RG is worth $1,500, $2,000 most days. So like that was a pretty market price. But yeah, I basically got it back for $1,000. Like I paid $500 more and got the dream motor that I wanted with it in the first place. So
far out.
It was basically a loan for 3 years. So
God, I love those sorts of deals.
Yeah, no. So
well, that sounds like a good project. And so you're gonna bring one of them to halfway hangs then, or
tempted.
Come on, so every year I have my old boy on standby with the Land Cruiser and a car trailer.
Yeah,
he's just the whole day he's waiting for the call.
Yeah,
and I was probably the closest one this year with the old Supra just not wanting to run. The push started so many friggin' times.
Yeah.
But,
I got Brock. He's got a Pajero on a trailer as well, and he's just like, if it breaks down, we'll just tow it. It's fine. Yeah, but he wants me to take the 32.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So
I think I'm taking the Stagia next year.
Yeah,
because I'm sick of bombing around in turds. Well, I guess I took the Evo last year, but it was 2 people's worth of camping gear, including a fridge.
Yeah,
there's just too much gear in one car, one small car. So if I take the Stagia, I feel like that'll be a bit nicer.
Yeah.
Plus, I spent 2 days on it over that Christmas break, and I had do you know Pete, Stagia guy, lives around the corner?
Pete, no.
So, Pete, Stag Parts Pete, if anyone's into Stagias, look him up. He's always been like this Stagia wrecker, so he would just buy them cheap because nobody wanted them for so long.
Yeah.
Just part them out, scrap the shells, whatever he could do.
Yeah.
And I bought my Stagia, I want to say 2021, and it was like $800 for a shell.
Yeah, right.
Leather interior, the exact trim colour, twin sunroof, everything I wanted, and it was $800 and way too cheap. But that was a steal. And then dragged it home, parked it up for a bit, and then started looking for a motor, and ended up finding like tail lights because one of mine was broken. And sure enough, Pete was selling them, and he lived around the corner. And I'd always driven past his place and seen the Stagias there, and he had 33s and stuff. And yeah, sure enough, I go to buy the tail lights, and they're like $20. I never put them on the car; they're still on my shelf because I was just like, I'm just buying these lights to meet the
just in case.
Yeah, and yeah, he was a really nice guy, and we got to talking, and he's like, oh, you need a motor for your Stagia? I've got a motor. I just pulled it out of this other car. So he sold me a fully dressed RB25 for $1,500. All it was missing was an ECU, and I think the motor mounts were blown. Can't remember. I think that was it. Anyway. So I got this motor and just boosted and everything and just shoved it straight into my Stagia. So I got a turbo RB25 all-wheel drive automatic leather interior twin sunroof Series 1 Stagia for $3,000.
Yeah, right.
And that was at the start of COVID, to be fair, but still, I think it's probably worth anywhere from 10 to 15 now.
Yeah, no, I got a mate who was always went to school with him. He was always into cars. never had like his first car was an N13 Pulsar with the little 1.6 motor, so like the first fuel injection single injector squirting down into like the intake.
Yeah.
So yeah, he basically bombed around that. He did an apprenticeship as soon as he got out of school.
Yeah.
So he worked for Yellow Cabs, and then one day he was he had to take a car to Department of Transport.
Yeah.
And they've got the pits.
Yep.
So he drove it over the pits, and then walking down the staircase at the Department of Transport, he fell and like tore a ligament in his leg or something like that. I think tore a ligament or broke it or something like that, real bad.
Yeah.
He ended up getting like an 80 grand payout.
What?
And then went straight to Motorman Imports and bought himself an Ortec RS 260 Stager in black.
God.
And then he just drove that around until he rear-ended someone. He still got it, but
Really?
yeah.
Do you want to sell it?
Well, I've been trying to get him to, but
What does he want for it? Maybe we can buy it together.
I don't know. He keeps saying no, he's not going to sell it.
Oh God! Well, tell me if he's got a price.
Yeah.
See, these are the opportunities. So it's one of the big things in the academy that I talk about is that you never know where you're going to find these opportunities.
That's exactly it.
Like my old man and I always talk about Facebook as Facebook Lotto.
Yeah.
Because you see a thing and you just message them and just hope for the best. And sometimes you win, sometimes you get nothing, sometimes you get ripped off. I've sent money to people and never seen a part, never seen anything come back.
Yeah.
It sucks, but sometimes you just roll the dice and
Russian roulette.
yeah, straight up, and thankfully you don't die afterwards, or hopefully you don't send that much money. But yeah, like the opportunities just come out of nowhere. You just got to pull that thread, and sometimes it's this long, sometimes it unravels the whole jacket, and you make a new best friend. Like Pete's a really good mate of mine now, and we've gone through quite a few cars, and I've helped him with his, and that shell that I had. So I bought a shell that Pete used to own. Funnily enough, he pulled the motor and manual out of it, and I bought the shell off some other guy, and I just swapped all the bits across from my shell that were damaged. So, there's just like I need a bolt here and a clip there, and it's like trying to buy them is impossible.
Yeah.
Buy a whole car, swap everything, and then just sell the shell again.
Yep.
And it just so happened that Pete unfortunately crashed his car in the rain, which he'd just finished. So,
I remember seeing that in the chat.
Yeah, so, you in the Stag Boys chat?
No, that was posted in the halfway chat.
Halfway chat, yeah. So he was like desperate for another shell, and he had the yellow shell, but I went and had a look and saw all the stuff that he'd taken off of it, and had the windows down for the last 6 months. I was like, dude, no. So he's like, can I borrow your shell? I was like, yes, you may. So I broke even, was all I wanted to do, and Pete got a new shell that was decent, so he's going
to strip it and swap it. Hopefully
off and racing, yeah, because it's a big job. Like, he wants to swap cradles and everything. He basically just wants a bare shell. He wants to swap his interior, because his car was just mint. It was this green, a really rare colour that I've not seen much of, and he built it to like 600 or something stupid, and he just wanted to put everything across. So fingers crossed he keeps it out of the wall next time. There's like 2 or 3 Stager guys that have built their cars to some decent power.
Yeah.
Just pull the front shaft.
Yeah.
Dude, why? It is an all-wheel drive. They're like, it'll blow up. I'm like, stop sidestepping the clutch in third. Like, drive it like a normal human. They're so good. And it's just the all-wheel drive on them. I really enjoy it. And it's got the center diff lock. Not that does much, but it's very fun to just do launch control. And
well, they have like they should. From what I understand, they're the same all-wheel drive system as the 33s.
Kind of.
The GTRs.
The Stages, the not RB26 Stages are actually a C33 floor pan.
Yeah, right.
So they have all the same driveline components, but everything's weaker. So
right.
All your axles are 5-bolt instead of 6, I think. And then your transfer case is like X amount of whatever's smaller. It's just not as beefy. So they're not going to hold the abuse a GTR will hold.
Yeah.
But they're still a really good setup. And like some of the Stages got, like I think Pete just ripped a GTR diff out of the rear of one of his Stages, a 6-bolt GTR mechanical LSD.
Yeah.
So some of them came with them, but then he's like, I've only got the rear, I don't have the front.
I would imagine that those are the Ortec 260 RS ones, because they came with the RB26. So
there was all sorts of trim levels. Like there were, I mean, to my understanding, there was like upgrades that you could do to the standard ones. But all the Ortec stuff, so all they did, it's funny, all the Series 1 Ortecs are labelled as automatics, because when Ortec purchased the
shells,
the running driving cars
from
Nissan, they just went straight onto a GTR running gear. So all the plates reflect whatever it originally was, which was probably an RS4S, or I don't know, I can't remember all the station numbers, but yeah, so 260 Ortec, man, that's a dream. So if old mate wants to get rid of it, hit me up. I need to add it to my stable.
In that nice black colour too.
So nice. I'm a real sucker for grey. I love the grey my Stager is. Did you see it? when it was parked up. It's just like a gunmetal grey. It's probably the most generic Series 1 looking Stagia.
Yeah.
Sunroof's grey, single headlights. I love it. I don't know why. Just love wagons.
Yeah, wagons are cool. I like wagons. I think they're definitely underrated and sort of been.
Thankfully, we can friggin' afford them.
Well, I think that's a big problem that we have now. It's like all fucking SUVs and crossovers and garbage. Like I don't need a Yaris crossover.
No.
I don't need a Mazda 2 crossover.
No. But that's unfortunately what sells. Like, if you want to buy a performance car now, you got to buy a Z car or a Supra.
Yeah,
And
but
it's like, or a GTR. But
that's exactly right. Like, they build these crossovers because they have more room, but it's literally a small car on a
pair of stilts.
Yeah, basically.
They just look dumb.
And I don't know.
I don't want more room. I want it to be dumber.
Yeah.
I want it to look cool and sound stupid.
That's a big reason why I like the Cubes. Is like physically, there's a lot of room inside of them.
Yeah,
like they're massive inside.
I find the same with Subarus. So I've not had much to do with them, but over the last, since COVID, I had a WRX, an 04 WRX that I fixed for a friend of mine. That was, don't ever fix Subaru's, kids. Just
I know the same feeling. We're going to go through that because I'm pretty sure the box in that one's fucked. So
just don't touch the motor, bro. So I thought it was going to be like, I priced it up, and I'd never done a WRX before. I'd never done a boxer motor, I'd never done any of that stuff. I priced it up, and I was like, yeah, it'll be $4,000, $4,500 for a new rebuild motor, whatever. It blew out to $12,500, and I didn't replace the injectors, didn't replace the turbo, didn't replace the exhaust, didn't replace the harmonic balancer. There was so many things that I didn't even do.
Yeah.
And it was $12,500. That was a reconditioned, EJ207 bottom end, so that's the STI bottom end. Yeah. Brand new crate motor. It's about the same price as getting it rebuilt anyway.
Yeah.
Reconditioned heads, new gaskets all through, new coolers and whatever. And then I think the only upgrades we really did were like a Killer Bee sump, a cooling. There's like a cylinder head cooling mod that you can do, and just like ancillary bits that just keep it running better. New engine mounts, just stuff like that. And yeah, $12,500. Yeah, basically a stock car. It's just crazy. The car's not even worth that much. I mean, it probably is now, but the point of this story is the interiors of Subarus are really spacious.
Yeah. So, like I said, same with Cubes. And you can sack them. And they're low.
Yeah. And you know what I reckon the slept-on build at the moment is?
What?
CRVs. Come on, man. A B20 boosted slam.
Same problem. Crossover.
Yes, but they do slam well.
Yeah.
But on top of that, they actually do have a half decent all-wheel drive system.
Have you seen the RAV4s?
Yeah.
So it's the same sort of deal. Like, there's a person in the UK that slammed their RAV4.
Yeah.
3S GT all-wheel drive.
Jesus. But so, all right. One, does it come with a 3S?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then, does it? Obviously, it comes four-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a decent four-wheel drive? Like, is it? Like with the CRVs, they've got passive rears, so it's only when the fronts start to slip that the viscous locks up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same
sort of deal.
Same sort of deal with the RAV4s.
Hasn't Papadakis started playing with a RAV4 in the States? Oh man, you don't watch Papadakis racing?
No.
You need to get around that. He's got some awesome stuff.
Yeah,
that guy's like, obviously the head of Papadakis Racing, which is the dude that runs Frederick Asbo's deal. But some of his videos are so well done.
From what I've seen of him, he used to be big into 4As as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, everyone's got to start somewhere, and that's the easiest place to start is all the cheap crap. So, yeah, that'd be nice.
Cheap crap.
Yeah, I know. Dude, if ever I get the time or the money, I can't wait to get back in my A92.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. I don't even know. It's A92 or 93. You know the ones that everyone hates because they're ugly?
Basically, same.
Yeah, that's what I figure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that silver top, it just needs a link.
Yeah.
Man, so good. Otherwise, it just fouls plugs and runs like garbage, and it's too hard. But I would love to just...
I will tell you one thing about that. If you do go put a link in it, get yourself a crank trigger kit.
Oh, really?
Yep. The Dizzy will work. It's an electronic Dizzy.
Yeah.
So you can go electronic Dizzy, coil on plug and everything like that. But because they do run the distributor as your timing, basically.
Yeah.
If you go a crank trigger, it makes it so much easier for the Link ECU to really nail down that timing, rather than using the Hall effect sensors and stuff like that in the distributor.
It's funny. Something I've learned, not just with business, but I mean it applies to cars as well. Is I'll learn how to do something, but unless it's so expensive I can't pay someone, or so difficult I can't do it myself.
Yeah. Then
I just give it to someone else. Like. Tuning a car is so easy to get wrong. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to claim I'm the best. I could probably get a car to run and not explode, but the risk involved and the time you have to put in and you could just be street shooting it because I don't know a $150,000 dyno, so you just press beep boop, cat runs out, swerve, crash, die.
Yep.
It's so easy to happen, so it's like just take it to someone else.
Yeah.
Welding is not one that I would outsource. I think I've got to the point now where I can weld reasonably well, but so many different things like upholstery, forget it, I hate it. Painting, I can do it, but I'm colourblind and my eyes suck, so it's like, why would I bother? Just take it to someone else. They're going to do a better job anyway.
Yeah.
And it saves me so much extra time. Your time is better spent going out and earning money.
Yeah, to pay for that.
Pay for it, rather than spending 3 times as long trying to do it. But maybe that's just my conceited old man yells at cloud.
Yeah, no, I'm very much in the same boat, which is why all my cars look like shit, because I'm not good at bodywork.
Yeah.
I've tried. I'm not good at painting. I've tried.
It's such an artwork,
Yeah, and I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah.
So I'm good mechanically, but I don't make enough money to be spending to pay people to do good jobs of it.
Yeah, well, I guess that's where we've got to start capitalising on things like your podcast, and I'm really hoping that Fury Garage Academy can grow some legs, because I'm one of those dumbasses that'll just pump it all straight back in. And just pump it all straight back into cars. And it's funny, a lot of people give me grief because they're like, you own so many cars and you never drive them. I'm like, dude, do you have any idea how hard it is to keep all these turds running?
Yeah.
Just dragging that Supra out, it needed... a Supra's a bad example. I have a VL, that one that went down to halfway Haynes.
Yeah.
That car, I parked it up in 2019.
Yep.
So that's only 5 years.
Jesus, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know, scary, isn't it? Bloody
Jesus.
Scary. I had to... So I gave it to my cousin to bring up to halfway Haynes. We were good.
Yeah, I was just checking. 8 o'clock.
Shit. I got to be back in the city for 10, don't I?
Yeah.
Probably wrap it up soon, but I'll finish the story. So I gave it to my cousin. So I gave this VL to my cousin to build for halfway Haynes, because he really wanted to go and wanted to do a car. I was like, why don't you just do this VL? And I'll give it to you because you're up at the Sunshine Coast. It's too hard to whatever. Anyway, so he ended up having to drop the tank. Pump was locked up. Clean the tank. New pump. New hanger. New lines. And then it needed front shocks. The front brakes were stuffed, so we did VL turbo front brakes, booster, master. Then it needed rear brakes. It needed a water temp sensor. It needed a dizzy. It's been sitting for 5 years, and this dude... I think I put $2 or $3 grand into it, but I was aiming for turbo, so I'm buying injectors and stuff.
Yeah.
He would have put easily $2 grand into it as well. And then Rego's $700-800. It's like, god damn.
Yeah.
This adds up so quick, and it's for a car that's been sitting. It was running and driving, and we parked it for 5 years.
Yeah.
And we drove it in between. It was just the fuel pump just died.
They don't like getting gummy and full of fucking fuel.
Yeah, something I've learnt recently is when you've got a metal tank, the best way to store them is with a full tank of fuel.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed, but it turns out wherever the fuel is, the water can't be. So if it's full of fuel, no water, no rust.
That's good for the tank side of things, but with fuel pumps, if they've been sitting in old fuel, even with a full tank, the one thing you do have to worry about is that the internals on an internal pump.
Yeah.
So if it's an external pump, that's nice and easy. You just take pressure out and the fuel will sit in the tank, all good. I know the VL external pump, fine, not a problem. The internal pumps on those things, you can get all the rubber will perish and all that sort of stuff inside your pump, and it creates it going gummy, and then when you go to start it up again, it just seizes.
Yeah,
and it's not from rust; it's just from
gummy.
Yeah.
Did you see the Stagia video I put out on Fury Garage with the the tank out of my Stagia?
No.
Dude, it is the worst I've ever dealt with. I've dealt with rust and I've dealt with gummy. This had returned to dinosaur goo. It was unbelievable. I've got the whole hanger out.
Yeah.
And it's just caked with this stuff. And I'm scraping it, and you can wipe it out with your finger easy enough, but then it's what's that, Venom from Spider-Man? It's that. You just can't get it off you. And it's just, my fingers, handling mortgage documents, my hands are like blackface. They were just unbelievable. And then you hit it with brake clean, it doesn't go hard. You can't scrape it out. It was the middle of winter, it was cold, it was just continually
that comes from the rubber and the fuel mixing, and it just going to shit.
I've never seen it like that before. I don't even know which part liquefied, because there was so much of it, but all the rubber bits were still there, and they all seemed okay. It was very strange. If you ever get to see the video, you'll understand what I mean, but it was the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I think you basically have to use acetone.
I tried to touch it. I don't know what this stuff was.
Yeah, right.
Thinners, everything. Couldn't get rid of it. It was very strange.
Damn.
But yeah, it was a fun one. But yeah, well, I guess we should probably wrap this thing up. It seems like I've got to go and do a limousine drive job.
Yeah, and with the aircon, my equipment is working a lot longer than it used to. So
that's good.
Basically, my first round of this was the cameras, because I didn't have aircon, and it was like in the middle of the day. It was about this time of year. No, it was like spring.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like after about an hour and 20 or an hour and 40 or something like that, the cameras killed out, and we're almost at 2, and I'm still on 2 bars on that one and 3 bars on that one. So
nice. Sounds
anyway, thank you for coming in.
That's all right, mate. Thanks for having me. I had a great time, and I feel like we're going to have a few more chats, especially not necessarily on camera now that we're finally properly acquainted. Seems to be living around the corner. When did you move in down here anyway?
August 2022. Yeah, August 22.
22. I thought it was earlier than that.
No. I've only been here a short amount of time. So
there you go. Still, 2 years is a long time.
Yeah, well, a year and a half. Oh no, it's coming up to 3.
That was abrupt.
Was it?
I don't know, man.
I'm confused.
Time's an illusion anyway. The more I count, the older I feel. So.
Ever since COVID, I never know what year it is.
It's so bad.
5 years since 2019. Get fucked.
Yeah, what the hell? I can't believe it. I was supposed to go to America again in 2020, and it's like COVID rolled in and just had to pull the pin. I was going with my best mate. We were going to tear it up, mate.
Yeah.
But no, sadly, reality has to hit, and it starts to suck again. So now I've got a real job, and who to do it?
Anyway. Thanks for joining us.
Before you run away, mate, I've got some goodies here for you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So we've obviously got the Fury Garage Academy sticker.
Yeah.
And then we've got some regular Fury Garage stickers.
Yeah. One of those will have to go on the table here. We'll have to get a photo of that.
Long one. And then, of course, it's got to have the fresh fit.
Oh,
Fury Garage
gee. Merch. Bro, and you turned down a drink.
Look, I'm on a diet, mate. The missus will kill me.
Yeah.
I spent the last 2 months just binge eating and drinking, and I need to get myself back in line. Yeah, it's a hard slog, isn't it?
Round's a shape. I'm in shape.
Nice.
See ya.
See ya.